You know, that moment in almost every session where the direction of the work can go one or two ways. And most of the time, it's subtle. It's easy to miss, easy to override, easy to misinterpret as progress. But this moment is actually where the outcome of the session is decided. And it has nothing to do with what the client is saying. It has everything to do with what their system is doing. Now, if you've ever had a session where things were going really well with this client, their emotions were opening up, things were moving, and then suddenly something shifts. They disconnect, they get analytical, they lose access to what they were feeling. Is not random. That's the system that just hit the threshold. Every client has a capacity for how much they can process at one time, whether that be emotionally, physiologically, energetically. And when that capacity is exceeded, the system will protect itself, not by announcing it. In some ways, it is announcing it just by noticing their shift, but by shifting state. And that's what you are wanting to look for, that shift in state. And this is where it gets important as a practitioner because signs are often subtle. You might notice that their breathing changes, their eyes lose focus, they start explaining instead of feeling, and they suddenly understand everything. They minimize what they just accessed. And if you're not watching for it, you'll keep going because it sounds like the session's moving forward, but it's not. The system has already started to close. That means that the system is starting to shut down. If that system shuts down, you cannot penetrate it with your work. It doesn't matter how good you are or how good your work is. Now, I worked with a client who was moving into a really important moment. They were connected, they were feeling, their system was open, and then, right at the point where something deeper was about to emerge, they shifted. They started analyzing, they started explaining their pattern, telling me what they already knew. And if I had followed that, we would have stayed at the surface. But what was actually happening was their system was approaching its limit. And we don't always recognize it as that. Now, this is where many practitioners unintentionally push past capacity because it feels like we're right there. We better keep it going. But the system does not work that way. When capacity is exceeded, processing stops, protection begins. And protection doesn't always look like shutdown. Sometimes it looks like, you'll recognize some of these things as I begin to say them: over talking, over explaining, intellectualizing, sudden clarity that bypasses emotion. And that can easily be mistaken for progress. But it's actually the system stabilizing itself. So the work becomes not pushing forward, but recognizing that we've reached the edge. And when you recognize that edge, you have a choice. You can push past it or work with it. Now, of course, pushing past it is going to create dysregulation. You can work with it, and that's going to build capacity. Now, this might mean pausing instead of continuing, grounding instead of deepening, bringing the client back into their body, and allowing what's already surfaced to settle. And this can feel like you're not doing enough. But in reality, you're actually doing more for that client. This is where the real work is happening. Because capacity is what determines whether that change holds. Not how deep you went, not how much emotion came up, but whether the system could stay present while it happened. And over time, when you work this way, you will notice something different. Clients don't just have breakthroughs. They begin to stabilize in their new states. Their reactions shift. Their patterns soften. Their baseline changes. And that's the difference between processing versus transformation. Now, this is one of the key pieces of moving from insight based work into coherence based work. Because once you understand thresholds, you can stop measuring progress by what level of intensity and start recognizing it through stability. And I go much deeper into this in From Survival to Coherence. And it's also a core part of the training work that I teach. In fact, it's a recommended read if you are enrolled in that course. I'm going to leave the links down below for you. If you recognize any of this and you want to make a comment, please feel free. If you have a question, I do read them and I will respond the best I can. So this is where practitioners begin to refine their ability to read the system in real time. And once you can do that, your work changes completely. Now go ahead and remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.